All of Us Are Dead Part 3 begins by showing Soju, who managed to survive the pursuit of the soldiers while trying to escape from the quarantine center located in the corner of Yosan City. Soju, who was shot in the stomach, then heads to the police station. After treating his wound, Soju took some equipment and weapons, before finally fighting the zombies that were blocking him and leaving to pick up his daughter, who was trapped in Yosan High School. Meanwhile at Yosan High School, Namra and Soo-hyuk are seen sitting alone, a bit away from their friends. Namra tells Soo-hyuk that she felt like she was dreaming when the infection spread through her body. She could smell such a delicious scent from Soo-hyuk's body that could arouse her hunger, so she wanted to bite him. Namra then reveals that after that, she heard Soo-hyuk calling her name, even though Soo-hyuk had never mentioned her name but only called her class president. It was Soo-hyuk's voice calling her name that made Namra came back to her senses. After that, Namra kissed Soo-hyuk lightly on the lips, as an expression of gratitude for all that Soo-hyuk had done for her, as well as her love for him, which Soo-hyuk welcomed because he also harbored the same feelings. On the other hand, Yoon-ji, who is immune to the bites of zombies, walks down the school corridor with a rumbling stomach. Yoon-ji then enters a room, but she immediately realized that there was someone hiding in the room, who was none other than a teacher, namely Mr. Jung. Very hungry, Yoon-ji devours the fish in the aquarium alive. Seeing this, Mr. Jung felt afraid of Yoon-ji and immediately hit the girl's head. But because Yoon-ji's body has turned into a half-zombie, she doesn't feel any pain, and instead attacks Mr. Jung. Although Yoon-ji and Mr. Jung is on the other side of the school, Namra can clearly hear Yoon-ji throwing up after biting Mr. Jung. Not only that, Namra can also clearly hear the sound of her friend's heartbeats, which is the effect of her body changes after being infected with the zombie virus from Gwynam. Realizing that they can't stay here forever because the zombies will continue to swarm in front of the room they're hiding in, Namra suggests that they get out of there immediately and head for the school roof. Apparently Gwynam managed to survive, despite having been pushed down from a height by Soo-hyuk. When Gwynam is drinking from the water tap on the school grounds, he notices that someone is calling his name, which is none other than Myung-won, the head of the delinquent students who managed to survive by hiding under a truck. Realizing that now he has become stronger and immune to zombie attacks, Gwynam then pulls Myung-won out from under the truck, breaks his arm, then leaves Myung-won an easy target for the zombies. Returning to Namra and her friends, who are thinking of a way to get to the school's rooftop and get past the zombies. Onjo then suggests her plan to go to the rooftop by building a barricade, distracting the zombies using a loudspeaker, and sneaking out. From there, when there are no more zombies roaming the corridors, then lock them up in the music room. Without further ado, Onjo and her friends immediately take the first step of their plan, which is to build a barricade. Onjo then asks Soo-hyuk to untie Namra to make it easier for them to escape while avoiding any suspicion, because Onjo doesn't want people to misunderstand and corner Namra. Meanwhile, Hari and her friends have made a stretcher to carry the injured Jun-sung out of the gym. But suddenly the stretcher broke because it couldn't support Jun-sung's weight. Because the zombies started arriving, Hari and the others rushed back into the gym. Elsewhere, JL and Ho-cheol plan to leave Chonsong Chicken Restaurant, while taking Hye-soo's baby on a motorbike parked there. When JL tries to start the engine, he sees a little girl running fast to avoid being chased by zombies. JL immediately saves the little girl and rushes back into the restaurant. JL then hands the baby to Ho-cheol, then he tries to calm the little girl named Sabin, who is shaking with fear because she was being chased by a horde of bloodthirsty zombies, where one of the zombies is her own mother. Not long after, JL and Ho-cheol then made some basic self-protection, so they wouldn't be easily bitten by zombies. JL also made the protection for Sabin to protect the little girl from zombie bites. JL then calms Sabin, who keeps watching her mother, who has turned into a zombie, from the window, by saying that they will get out of there and head to a safe place, and after that, JL will come back to pick up Sabin's mother. They then rush to escape from there on motorbikes, while avoiding the zombies' attacks. After driving for a long time to avoid zombie attacks, JL can finally ride his motorbike without rushing, until they finally arrive at a residential area where there is a man who is taking cover from zombie attacks by climbing the roof of a house. That man is the person who did live streaming of the zombie outbreak attack in Yosan City a few days ago. Because of his high humanity, JL decides to help the man whose leg is injured, ignoring Ho-cheol's warning that zombies can reappear at any time. When JL tries to help the man, Ho-cheol sees the zombies coming from a distance. Frightened and panicked, Ho-cheol immediately steps on the gas, flees from there, leaving JL and the man behind. Meanwhile at Yosan High School, the students finally finish building the barricades in the music room, where Chang-san and Soo-hyuk are tasked with opening the front door so the zombies can enter the music room. Soo-hyuk then asks Chang-san why Gwyn-nam was so annoyed with him that he wanted to kill him. Chong-san says that he caught Gwynam holding the principal, then killed him, and Chong-san threatened to report Gwynam's actions to the police. Not only that, Chong-san was the one who injured Gwynam's eye in an attempt to save himself. After hearing this, Soo-hyuk then asked Chong-san to leave, while he himself would open the door for the zombies. After the door was opened and the music turned on, the zombies rushed in, while Chong-san and the others tried their best to hold back the barricades. On-jo, who is in charge of watching the situation outside through the window, then asks Dae-soo to shout louder to lure the zombies into their trap while the other students make a fuss by playing musical instruments. Meanwhile, at the military camp, a commander named Seon-moo is monitoring the development of one of the soldiers who has contracted the zombie virus, who is quarantined in a room. Seon-moo intends to do research on the body of the soldier to find out more about the zombie virus that is spreading very fast and find a solution to stop the zombie epidemic from spreading. One of the men suddenly came to him and said that there was a member of the government council at the quarantine center who asked to meet with the commander. The assemblywoman, Yoon-hee, then asks Seon-moo to evacuate several schools in Yosan, especially Yosan High. Although Seon-moo initially refused to send a rescue team to the school because they were currently understaffed, but Seon-moo then sent a rescue helicopter to search the schools in Yosan City and evacuated people who might still have survived and were waiting for help to arrive. Meanwhile, at Yosan High School, Chong-san and the others start to struggle with holding the barricades because the zombies keep coming, until finally Woo-jin, who is in charge of supervising the corridor leading to the school roof, tells his friends that the situation in the corridor is safe and not a single zombie there. Chong-san and his friends managed to get out of the music room, and they immediately ran upstairs to the school roof. Realizing that Chong-san and the others had left the music room, the zombies who managed to destroy the barricade immediately ran after them. At the same time, a rescue helicopter is heading to several schools, including Yosan High School, to evacuate people who have survived the zombie outbreak. On the school roof, Cheol-soo sees a rescue helicopter heading towards him, and at the same time, he hears loud banging as well as screams for help at the door leading to the roof, which is On-jo and friends trying to break the door. However, Cheol-soo refuses to open it, considering that he was often targeted for bullying by his classmates at school, and Cheol-soo now chooses not to care. On the other hand, Namra, who has a keen hearing, tells her friends that the zombies will start arriving soon. Chong-san and Soo-hyuk try to block the zombies from going up the stairs, while the others throw tarps at the zombies to slow them down. However, among the swarms of zombies, Gwynam then charged forward while grinning at Chong-san, preparing to launch his attack. With the help of Soo-hyuk, Chong-san tries to beat Gwynam. But because Gwynam has the physical endurance of a zombie, they are both overwhelmed. Seeing her two friends in a desperate situation, Namra quickly helped them, and because Namra also has a tough physique like Gwynam, the girl was able to easily catch and drop Gwynam downstairs. At the same time, rescue helicopters arrived on the school's roof, preparing to evacuate the survivors. However, Cheol-soo tells the soldiers that he is the only one who survived the zombie outbreak at Yosan High School. On the other hand, Yoon-ji, who is walking on the school grounds, looks up and sees a rescue helicopter hovering on the school roof. Yoon-ji remembers the past when she was often bullied at school, then decides to return to the school building, starting a fire in the teacher's room, intending to set the school on fire. However, Yoon-ji's actions trigger a fire alarm, disarming the security system on the door leading to the roof. By the time On-jo and the others managed to open the door, the rescue helicopter hastily took off and left them all behind. There's a loud bang at the door, which is none other than Gwynam, but he then chose to leave and think of another way to get to the school's roof. After being satisfied with venting her frustration at a school that never sheltered or gave her a sense of security when studying, Yoon-ji then left the school by riding a bicycle leisurely, because the zombies would ignore her presence. Meanwhile, Jae-il and the male live streamer who took cover on the roof of the house start to feel hot under the scorching sun. Jae-il intends to distract the zombies by throwing something in a certain direction, but that doesn't seem to be enough to repel the zombies that keep coming their way. Just when Jae-il is almost desperate because the zombies keep coming, suddenly they see a bus approaching them, which is actually being driven by Ho-cheol. Ho-cheol then asks Jae-il and the live streamer guy to climb onto the roof of the bus, while he'll pounce on the zombies that get in the way. Finally, they manage to escape from there. At Yosan High School, Soo-hyuk and Chong-san are discussing about Gwynam, who looks much tougher than normal humans, which shows that Gwynam has physical endurance like a zombie and is immune to zombie attacks. Chong-san and his friends then collect the items to make an emergency signal, hoping that another rescue helicopter will come to evacuate them all from there. As it gets dark, Chong-san and the others try to make a bonfire, but because they don't have matches or anything like that, they seem to have a hard time, until Namra finally hands him a lighter. Chong-san and the others seem annoyed that Nam-ra didn't give the lighter right away, even though they had been working hard to make a bonfire. That night, while on his way to the military camp, Ho-cheol accidentally bumps into Yoon-ji, who passes in front of him, causing the girl to fall over. Jae-il rushes to check on Yoon-ji's injury. When Jae-il was about to take Yoon-ji to go with him, suddenly they were both fired upon from a distance and then ambushed by military forces. Jae-il immediately shows his badge and tells them he's a cop. After that, Jae-il and the others are taken to the quarantine center to be evacuated. On the school roof, Chong-san and his friends sit around the bonfire to warm up. They then ask Dae-soo to sing a song, which they end up singing along, adding to the heartwarming feel of the cold night. On the other hand, Na-yeon decides to come out of hiding and finds a handycam previously used by her friends to record themselves each bidding farewell. Na-yeon watches the videotape of Chong-san saying that Jong-soo died because of his mistake, where Chong-san lets Jong-soo jump from a height. Knowing this, Na-yeon also feels very sorry for Chong-san and the rest of her friends because she caused Jong-soo to die. Although unable to make amends, Na-yeon is determined to help her friends by bringing them food, especially because she remembered Mrs. Park's last message, who said that she should go back to her friends and apologize to them, before Mrs. Park died in an attack by zombies trying to save her. Na-yeon immediately put some snacks and canned drinks into her bag and ventured out of her hiding place. But Na-yeon instead met with Gwyn-nam, who was hungry and thirsty for blood, who immediately bit Na-yeon and killing her. After preying on Na-yeon, Gwyn-nam, who was back in good shape, then crept up to the top of the school building, where Chong-san and the others were there. Meanwhile, Chong-san confesses his feelings for An-jo in front of all his friends, where the boy says that he has liked An-jo since they were little. But An-jo thinks Chong-san is lying, and leaves right away. Soo-hyuk then asks Chong-san to go after An-jo and explain everything to her. When he is alone with An-jo, Chong-san apologizes to An-jo and says that An-jo doesn't need to like him as Chong-san likes An-jo. However, An-jo, who was annoyed and had only thought of Chong-san as his best friend, then asked Chong-san to get out of her sight immediately. When Chong-san was gone, Gwyn-nam came and attacked An-jo. Knowing this, Chong-san then shouted for his friends and rushed to save An-jo. Gwyn-nam then pushes An-jo to the ground, then runs towards Chong-san, where they finally face each other again and Gwyn-nam tries to pry out Chong-san's eyes, avenging him. Soo-hyuk and the others rush to help Chong-san, but they are overwhelmed because Gwyn-nam is too tough, until finally, Nam-ra, who also has the toughness of a zombie, helps her friends. When Gwyn-nam managed to corner Soo-hyuk and was about to knock him off the roof, Nam-ra swiftly grabbed Gwyn-nam, then threw him down. Despite falling from a height several times, Gwyn-nam only suffered a broken bone and was able to move again. Meanwhile, at the military camp in the quarantine center, a soldier informs Commander Seon-mu about Jae-il, who has important information about the beginning of the zombie outbreak that is spreading very quickly in Yosan City. Seon-mu rushed to Jae-il, who was being interrogated by the military, where Jae-il revealed that the zombie outbreak started from an experiment conducted by Mr. Lee to his wife and children, where Mr. Lee said that all the data regarding the experiment was stored on his laptop in the Yosan High School laboratory room. The scene then switches and shows Chol-soo finally reuniting with Yoon-ji at the quarantine center. Yoon-ji then says that she burned down the school and is now feeling so hungry that she wants to eat Chol-soo alive. After successfully knocking Gwyn-nam down, Chong-san and the others sit back around the fire and tell stories. This time it's Nam-ra's turn to tell the story. Nam-ra reveals that she is very happy to be able to do this with her friends, where they sit together and tell stories to each other. Nam-ra hopes that someday they can get together and do this again, because Nam-ra has always been a loner and rarely has friends to talk to. Nam-ra is suddenly silent for a moment, and her expression changes as she says that she heard something approaching towards them. Turns out what Nam-ra heard was a helicopter sent to their school to find Mr. Lee's laptop. Chong-san and his friends also seem happy that they will finally be saved from there. However, the soldiers asked Chong-san and the others to lie down because they had to be checked first to make sure no one was infected with the zombie virus. After that, Chong-san and his friends were asked to wait a moment because the main mission of the soldiers was to find the laptop. After paralyzing the zombies, the military special forces finally managed to find the laptop and copied all of the experimental data to give to the military camp command center. Elsewhere, Commander Seon gets a report from his subordinates that there has been an attack near the quarantine post, where one of the survivors, who is not showing any symptoms of a zombie virus infection, suddenly bites his own friend. The survivor is Yoon-ji, who tries to bite Chol-soo. After learning that in some cases, people who have been infected with the zombie virus don't show any symptoms and look normal, Seon-mu also orders the special forces not to evacuate Chong-san and the others, and rushes away from there. Chong-san and his friends were confused as to why they didn't even get saved and just left. Back at the quarantine center, the assemblywoman Yoon-hee is being interrogated by the military about Soju escaping from the quarantine center. Yoon-hee says that it is her responsibility, because when the zombie outbreak started, Soju chose to save Yoon-hee and other government officials, rather than save her daughter who was trapped in Yosan High. When it was confirmed that Yoon-hee and other Yosan City government officials were in a safe place, Soju rushed to find and save her daughter because that was the true love of a father for his daughter. And because of that, Yoon-hee is willing to take responsibility for Soju's actions. After Yoon-ji is secured somewhere and further researched, scientists conclude that Yoon-ji is not completely a zombie, but she is also not an ordinary human, so it has the potential to spread the zombie virus to others. Therefore, Commander Seon immediately took decisive steps by confining people from Yosan in certain wards because they were suspected of having conditions like Yoon-ji's that could endanger others. That night, heavy rain began to pour down Yosan City, accompanied by lightning. Chong-san and his friends seem happy because they can finally drink after having to endure thirst for several days since the zombie outbreak attack. However, Chong-san then realizes that the rain and lightning affect Namra, as well as the zombies, because their hearing is very sensitive, so the sound of thunder booming is very painful to their ears, and the pouring rain can disguise the smell of the human body. Chong-san has an idea that they should immediately get off the school roof and head to the tennis court that leads to the mountains. Chong-san plans to take his friends on a run through the mountains and head to the next town to seek refuge, since the Yosan City government and the military have purposely ignored them. On the other hand, Hari and her friends also realize that the zombies are very sensitive to noise, including the sound of thunder, and plan to flee towards the mountains, just as Chong-san had planned. Full of vigilance, Chong-san's group and Hari's group rushed to the tennis courts while it was raining heavily in the city to avoid being attacked by the zombies. However, when Chong-san and the others about to leave Yosan High School, Chong-san saw his mother who had turned into a zombie. And part 3 ends here.